right. Hey, everybody. We're here today with Amanda, who we last spoke with 3 years ago. And we're going to be doing a quick update. And I'm just kind of freaking out. So excited to hear everything that's happened in the last 3 years, if you can capture
Yeah.
it all. But yeah, why don't, for context, we start like at the beginning, who you are,
Yeah.
where you're calling from, and maybe just bring us up to like the first student success story we did, and then we'll kind of go from there. So,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hi, everybody. First of all, my name's Amanda Bourbonnais. I joined Write Your Way to Freedom and started my copywriting business in 2020. So it's been almost 5 years exactly, which is actually insane. I originally started my business because I have chronic Lyme disease, and my main motivation was really to find a way to work and make money and have a fulfilling, successful career without sacrificing my health and actually being able to do so in a way that prioritizes my health. And freelancing was definitely the best option for me and still is. So yeah, it's been 5 years, and now yeah, I've really built my business on mostly on like a retainer model. Like I kind of just when I find a client, I kind of just stick around with them. Like I've probably had less than like in my entire business less than 15 clients total, like maybe less than that even, because I kind of just stick with people for the long term and kind of build relationships and work that way. So that's kind of the very short version of me. Yeah.
yeah. And who are your clients typically?
Yeah.
Yeah. People always
Um,
know that.
yeah, for sure. I know it's like I'm so used to it that I forget to talk about it. I work in health and wellness space, so mostly practitioners, but also a lot of e-com, and one of my main clients is like a supplement company. So yeah.
That's amazing. And so who's like how long has one of your longest clients been? Not who are they, but like how long have you been with since
Like
the
the whole time, like the
Yeah.
last 5 years.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. That's how I prefer to stick it out with clients and work with people that I really love and build relationships with. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been my experience too.
Yeah. So I guess just bring us up to now. Like, what kind of copy are you typically writing? What's your favorite? Maybe what did you learn along the way? Just wherever that
Mm.
takes us.
Yeah. So I definitely started out in the early days was like all blogs all the time
Mhm.
and really kind of built my business on blog retainers. And that worked really well for me in the first like year to 2 years. And then from there, I kind of started experimenting with different things and expanding into email and web copy and, some sales copy here and there, kind of just like whatever came up. And yeah, I was really fortunate with like this main client that I've been working with for the past 5 years that they were kind of in the space of growing more and like focusing more on D2C audience. And I was just kind of able to step in on like various new types of copy as they needed more help. So that really worked out in like terms of me figuring out figuring out like new types of copy I wanted to write and like what I was interested in and all that kind of stuff. So I still kind of do a little bit of everything and I still write blogs, but yeah, it's a lot more diverse than when I started out for sure.
Do you have a favorite type of copy that you prefer to write now?
I do still really like blogs. I like anything long form, anything I can like dig into some research, some education, like really kind of teaching people about a topic. That's my jam.
Yeah. Yeah. And would you say that do you have a preference for service-based clients versus e-com, or do you kind of like switching it up?
I kind of like both. Yeah. Yeah. I like having some variety. Yeah. For me, I think like I get the variety from the different types of clients and different types of copy, but like having the consistent month to month retainer structure. So like I know that it's, in that way it's repetitive, but it does change up a lot depending what my clients need.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
how did you find your first client or find most of your clients? How would that break down?
Yeah, it's been really organic. I think I talked about in my first student success story, I did very little cold pitching. And I think I told this story in the first one, but I'll tell a shortened version of it. Basically, this like long-term client that I have now, I messaged them on Instagram because I was on their email list at the time. They sent out an email about a new product that they were launching and like sent the link to the PDP and everything. And I clicked through and there was like a huge mistake that got pushed through to the live page. So I just messaged them on Instagram and was like, hey, I saw this, just want to let you know. And, like I didn't ask them for anything. And they said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for telling us. And like I said, oh, no, no worries. It's just my copywriting brain. And then I didn't say anything else. And then like 2 weeks later, they messaged me and was like, hey, we want to like really work on our blog. Is that something that you'd be interested in helping us with? And I was like, yes, I would.
Nice. I
And
love
that's how
it.
our relationship started. Yeah.
Yeah. So nice. That's so nice. So it was mostly, I mean, how were the other ones? Like of the 15, how would it break down? Is it like a few were cold email, a few were DMs ish?
Yeah. A lot of honestly like referrals. I also like early on happened to get in touch with another freelance copywriter who was going on maternity leave at the time. And she like sent me a bunch of random leads that I followed through on a few of them. And then, yeah, some people just came through my website. One client I have right now is a chiropractor in South Carolina, and they just randomly found my website. I'm like, I don't even know how you found me because I don't do anything with my website really. So that's kind of crazy to me. But I think they also saw me on LinkedIn maybe, and they reached out to me, and we started working together that way. So yeah, a little bit here and there, but like very. I feel like very minimal effort on my part, which I don't know how I got that lucky, but it's worked out for me so far.
That's amazing. And why health and wellness?
Definitely just for my own health journey. Like when in 2019, when I was really sick with Lyme and I didn't know what it was at the time, I was just doing a lot of frantic Googling about my symptoms and just kind of learning trial by fire, learning all this like health and wellness information and getting really interested in like nutrition and supplements and lifestyle and stress, like how stress impacts our body, but like nobody ever teaches you that. And, autoimmune and like how like your nervous system impacts your health, like all these different topics. And I just kind of got fascinated. So between my own health and like working on that and then just also kind of finding like, oh, I'm actually naturally very interested in this, it made a lot of sense to kind of focus on that niche and focus on the kinds of practitioners and brands that really helped me work on my health as kind of opposed to like traditional medical model, because I really reached a point where like that wasn't working for me anymore if it ever had in the first place. And so, yeah, so finding these other kinds of practitioners like naturopaths and functional medicine doctors and chiropractors and so on, I really wanted to focus more on those people and help them kind of spread their message and find also the right people to help.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking right to my heart because
Yeah.
that's why I love writing for those doctors as well. So, if you don't mind talking a little bit about it, how does, freelancing or copywriting fit into navigating a chronic illness?
Yeah, that's like my whole jam. I think for me, just going from 9 to 5, like going into an office every day to freelancing, even that kind of transition in and of itself is, I feel like, just inherently better for chronic illness and focusing on your health. Like, I cannot tell you how much I hated having a commute. Like it was it was the worst thing to me, even if it wasn't even a long commute. I just hated it and it stressed me out. And like not having that anymore, I feel like just even that alone kind of contributed to, improving my health and lowering my stress. So I think just kind of some inherent aspects of freelancing, working, in your own space, in your own environment, being able to control your time and, being able to like cook myself healthy meals, a good lunch, a good breakfast, a good lunch during the day, and take actual like hour-long breaks to eat those meals and like not work at the same time. Yeah, it does require some boundary setting and some like consideration for yourself of like how do you want to set up your day so that you are making your health a priority and focusing on that. But it also kind of very naturally lends itself to that, I feel like.
Oh my gosh, I agree so much. I'll never forget. I did like a day in the life of thing or whatever on Instagram, and it was just like, me taking some time in the morning for myself, cooking
Yeah.
lunch, cooking dinner, starting dinner while I was like eating and cooking lunch. And then, it was just, and somebody said like this is a very self-indulgent life. And I was like,
Oh my God.
or is it just like taking care of myself?
Yeah.
And we're so brainwashed into thinking that like we should just be getting up and having the same experience every day. And the other thing that's always blown my mind is like we just are not the same. Like we ebb and flow in our
Mm,
energy levels and like especially obviously if you're dealing with a chronic condition, but even without that, like and so to be able to have the flexibility to say like I just can't today. I need a mental health day or whatever,
yeah.
it's just not baked into the current like 9 to 5 model. And it's
Yeah.
just, we're not machines. Like it's just not realistic. So it's just always blown my mind how accustomed to it most people are and how what you're describing is considered, I guess, by this one person, like self-indulgent. And it makes me sad actually, because I don't think that it is. I think that's how we
Yeah.
should all be able to experience that. That's how I think. So,
100 million%. Yeah. And I think it's like, I think you're right in that it's like people just don't realize that there's like another way. Like you just get so entrenched in the, I guess, like the traditional model, the old model. I don't know. It's changing so fast, especially after COVID and remote work and everything. But even still, there's a difference between working remotely and still being on the clock for a certain amount of hours a day and just completely working for yourself on your own schedule and choosing that schedule. Yeah,
time autonomy is something that I feel like once you experience, you can't go back.
truly.
So I have moments every now and then where I just try to imagine if I got like a 9 to 5 and I cannot, I just don't think I could ever do it again.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'd probably be showing up 2 hours late. Like, yeah, no, I
I
just,
know. I
yeah,
know. I realized
fine.
I've realized since I've become my own boss, like, oh, I really didn't handle authority well before
Yeah,
either. Like, I
same.
really have no patience for anyone telling me how to do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah. I even had a moment where I like committed to being a dance instructor. And just even once a week, I had to show up at the same time for an hour. And I was like, oh, wow, this is hard. Like, I can't even do this anymore. And so it didn't last very long, literally because of that. Because I was just like,
Mm,
oh, but I don't, not every Saturday morning I'm into this. So
right.
so yeah, it's just, oh, I'm so, so glad to hear all of that. So I'd
Yeah.
love to hear a little bit about some of the just over this. I mean, it's been 5 years. It's so amazing. What are some of the highlights? What are some of the like big things that you accomplished that you're really proud of yourself for?
Oh my God. Oh, good question.
Let's start at the beginning because remember, let's actually, because like if you can take yourself back,
Yeah,
it's a practice to remember the accomplishments that you had in the early days that now you probably take a little bit for granted.
true. True.
Like you're just so if you could try to think early first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can talk about my first client was a clinic that I still go to for these frequency medicine treatments that have really helped me with Lyme. And I got them as a client because I was in an appointment with the owner doing this certain medicine treatment. And we were talking, and I was kind of telling her, like, oh, I'm working on becoming a freelance copywriter, and I'm in this course, and I'm like learning all this stuff, and talking about blogs and like how that helps business get more visibility and also educate their patients, if it's a clinic. And she was really interested. I could tell, like she was like taking mental notes. And she kind of talked about like, oh, we've tried to do some of that before, but like with their contractors or an agency or something, I don't remember, but like it didn't work out because they just didn't understand like how we do things. And yeah, we just kind of had this conversation. And I didn't pitch her in the appointment, but then I followed up with her via email maybe the next day or maybe even the same day and just said, hey, you sounded really interested in this. I would love to write some blogs for you at XYZ rate. And I think it was, at the time, I think it was 150 for a blog, which was like my very first starter blog rate. And we ended up doing a test project, like a single blog post, and then got on a retainer for 2 blogs a month for, I think, at least like the next 3 to 6 months. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but yeah, it was just kind of like a 24-hour process of like just kind of naturally had this conversation in the appointment. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to follow up with her and like actually pitch her the service. And it worked out. So yeah,
Mm,
I was proud of myself for that.
first, like being paid for the first time, like for
Yeah,
writing, I remember was such a like mind-blowing experience for me. I was like,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And like at that time, I had, I have worked hourly prior to that. Like I had never made $150 for like a single, project in my life. That was crazy. So yeah, that was like I felt like a turning point for sure.
hmm. Any other big standouts as you move like along your journey?
Would say after that, it was publishing my website.
Mm.
That was like a weirdly big sticking point for me. And it was partly due to like a scarcity mindset because I think even prior to starting Write Your Way to Freedom, I had already gotten a WordPress website. And then of course I like was getting into the course and like hearing about how you recommended Squarespace and I was like, oh, I remember being, watching that part and being like, oh, that probably would have been easier. But I already have this other website that I already invested in. And I was just like, for whatever reason, it was like so difficult for me to figure out and like try and put together. And eventually I was like, screw it. Like, I'm just going to do the Squarespace website instead, scrap the old one. And then once I did that, it was like very quick and publish it. It was like very quickly after that, I got my first like bigger retainer clients. So it's funny how that worked out. Like I had to really overcome that hurdle of like, okay, I spent this money already, but it turns out it wasn't what I needed. So I need to invest in this other platform. So yeah, that was another milestone.
These are two that I know are going to speak to a lot of people. They're very common.
Mm,
I hear them a lot. Those are two big like milestones, I think, in a freelance copywriter's career.
yeah.
So as you're moving along, as you're getting a few years maybe under your belt, what are some maybe lifestyle changes or just things that you took care of or accomplished that kind of stand?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, so like when I started my business and started Right Your Way to Freedom, I was still living at home in my mom's house because I was really sick. And honestly, I wasn't making very much money before anyway. So I wasn't able to afford rent. So I think within like 4 months maybe of like getting those main retainer clients, I moved out and got my own place. And that was amazing. That
That's
was like,
huge.
yeah, I was like, oh my God, I'm a real adult now. Amazing. So yeah, that was like a huge lifestyle change that definitely was for the better. And it's funny, like now I'm in the same apartment and now I'm actually thinking about moving into a bigger place this year and like kind of getting ready for that move as well. So it's funny how like I'm back in the same, not the same, but like the next level of that. And yeah, so that was kind of a big one. And then I think from there it was just kind of like steadily increasing my retainers and my, how much I was charging for my services and being able to like, you know, start a retirement plan and like invest more in like certain tools and stuff for my business. I bought a new laptop finally last year after working with my 2011 MacBook Pro that I had for the last like 12 years. I kid you guys not. So, yeah, it's just kind of been it's funny. It's like just kind of lifestyle creep is not the right word because that's like a negative term, but like you kind of just slowly build up your lifestyle to a point where like it feels normal, but like 5 years ago, I would have been like, that's crazy. Does that answer your question?
Yes, totally. And it's gonna keep growing. Like that's
Yeah.
that's absolutely amazing. I love to hear that. So to just take a quick turn to the opposite direction a little bit.
Mm.
What are some of the harder things that you feel like you've had to overcome, or maybe just like a hard experience or moment that was not the most fun, but
Yeah, one that comes to mind is I did let go of a client last year that I had built that, longer term relationship. I think I had been working with them for 3 years maybe. And it was just writing articles. They were, essentially blogs, but like longer form, like more in the like 2K words range and like more in depth kind of scientific type articles. And I was getting really burnt out on them. I was like really, the money was good. It was a great container, and I was just sick of them. I was like, and I definitely reached a point of several months where I felt like I was just kind of forcing myself to keep doing the work and kind of just struggling through it. And eventually I realized like, okay, this is telling you something, like it's time to move on and, let go of this, trust that like everything will work out, financially, work wise. It's not like I didn't have other clients to, carry me through. I wasn't like super reliant on this client, but I just had this relationship with them for so long and nothing was like particularly wrong. Like they were great. I loved working with them. I felt like part of their team. I felt like, they loved my work. They respected my boundaries and my like freelancer relationship with them. I just wasn't feeling it anymore. So, yeah, I just kind of had to eventually say like, "Hey, I want to like I want to transition away from this type of writing, but would like love to stay in touch with you guys and like maybe we can work on something else together in the future." And that's what happened. And it was very cordial and we parted ways. And it was definitely for the best. Like I felt like immediate energetic renewal after I did that and it all worked out. But it was, it was like a struggle to kind of get to the point, and like a struggle I put on myself to realize that I needed to move on from that.
wow. That is such a that's a really powerful story for a couple of reasons, but I want to just highlight how amazing it is that you're in a place in your career where you like could make that decision and
Yeah.
have assessment. That's, I mean, I've experienced something very, very similar, and that's just amazing. There's a lot of self-trust
Yeah.
that in there, and you strengthen your self-trust when you made the decision, felt the like energetic release, and then also decide or like took the next steps to kind of replace that client.
Hmm.
That's just like absolutely amazing. Did you have to, at any point in time, did you like do anything for marketing your business beyond that? Like, how did you replace that client? What did you do for that one in particular?
I actually, crunched the numbers and with my other clients, like figured out like, okay, I'll be fine without this for a while. And I actually, at that point, was like when I was focused more on building my membership community, Health First Freelancer. So I really wanted to replace like the time and energy I was spending there to building my own, kind of community and something that's going to be mine as opposed to just kind of replacing it with another client. And then another client did eventually come along. That's my chiropractor client that I work with now. And that, that turned out to be like that was still less, energy kind of intensive than this previous client. But yeah, the intention at the time was really to kind of focus on my own projects.
Well, that's a perfect segue because the next thing I was going to ask you about was your membership community.
Yeah.
Hear about that. I know a lot of people would love to hear about it. So,
For sure. Yeah. So, Health First Freelancer, like the whole idea is helping you build a business that puts your health first and kind of helping other folks with chronic illness do the same thing that I did and build a freelance business in a way that feels good and prioritizes their health. And I think we all know that there's like a way that you can freelance that is like hustle, grind, go 24/7, like stressing out all the time, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think, my story is kind of proof of that. And yeah, I originally was thinking that it was going to be more of a course, but after kind of like playing around with that for a while and like I was getting really overwhelmed with it. And then I kind of transitioned around this time last year to thinking of like, oh, what if it was more of like a community? Because I realized that, obviously as much as I've learned from Write Your Way to Freedom and how important that content was for me, it was really the community that helped me, I think, move my business forward and like keep the motivation and feel like I was a part of something and I was like moving alongside other people that were, building something similar but like their own version. So I really kind of decided to double down on that. And I think too with with AI and everything now, like content, you can ask AI to like to help you do anything. But I think the value in the community is much greater, is greater now than ever before. And I love the idea of having this group of people who are focusing on building a freelance business and also working on their health and kind of prioritizing both of those things in a way that works for them and facilitating a space where we can talk about, what's working for us and like share ideas and come together and have actual conversations instead of kind of just scrolling or however, being on Facebook communities or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind the community.
That's amazing. I completely agree with you about communities, by the way. I actually just put out a YouTube video on this.
Oh, amazing.
It's the feel good part of any good course or program anyway, in my opinion. And it's the thing that can't be like replicated. It's
Yeah,
something cultivated. And I think this is so, so brilliant and so needed. It's a micro community definitely within Write Your Way to Freedom. And
right.
most people just kind of like connect on their own mostly. So I really, really love that you created a community specifically for this. And yeah, I don't know, people with chronic illness. I have a lot of people in my family, actually two cousins with very serious Lyme disease. So that has been why, my focus as a copywriter was also on people with chronic conditions. So it's just like
Hmm.
a special like place in my heart. And I'm so glad you created this. And I know it's been something you've kind of been thinking about and has been like top of mind for you for, I think, 5 years. Like ever
Yeah,
since we've always talked about this. So
yeah,
I just really love that it's coming to life. And if anyone watching this, has this in your life and, has to navigate this would be a great resource. Is it all kinds of freelancers? I'm assuming just
yeah.
any.
Yeah, any kind of freelancers, not just freelance copywriters. Yeah, designers, software developers, any freelance skill that you got. I think, and that's kind of like the idea behind it too, is like take the skills that you already have, no matter what they are, and you can turn that into a freelance business.
Truly,
Yeah.
truly. This is something I'm so passionate about too. I got my husband, who's a lawyer, to like leave his law firm and do it on his own. And now
Oh,
he has
wow.
time autonomy. And he's just like, and now I'm like, once you experience time autonomy, you're never going to go back.
Yeah.
He's like, I
Yeah.
see it. And I just really believe that most people have a skill set that could be turned into a freelance business of sorts.
Absolutely.
Like, and when you do that, you get so much control over your life. So I love
Yeah.
that it's not just copywriters, but freelancers, because I think
Yeah.
it'd be a big, it's already happening, and I just think it's going to continue that way. So I love it.
Yeah, and I love the idea of like having a mixture of different, skills and kind of creative mindsets in the group as well. And I think too, just speaking real quickly to like, even if you think you don't have a skill that can be a freelance, like you probably do. Or if you think you don't, you probably like know something else where if you just like learned a little bit more or like took, found like a unique angle on it, you could easily turn it into something that could be a service.
1,000%. I have had this conversation with basically every single one of my friends where they're like, this can't be freelance. This can't be like, I can't make a business of this. And then we have a conversation. They're like, huh, I actually probably could. And like,
Right.
it's almost like obnoxious how like excited I get about that particular conversation. I love that. So how can people find Health First Freelancer?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just to follow me on YouTube. So
Okay.
I make YouTube videos. All the links to my email list and the community page are there as well.
And then is that by just typing in Health First Freelancer?
Health First Freelancer. Yep.
Ah, I love it. I loved hearing this and catching up with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to share
Yeah.
your
Thank you.
story and insights. And I am so excited about your community. Seriously.
Yeah.
Hate it.
Yeah,
So
same. Thank you so much for having me back. And yeah, if anyone wants to reach out to me with questions, you can DM me and Write Your Way to Freedom or reach out to me through YouTube.
awesome. Ah, so excited. Well, thank you for being here and we'll see you in the community. And thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.